Welcome everyone to the 13th episode of Você de la Virginie. Tonight we have three guests that will talk about the economic crisis. Go ahead, Roosevelt.
Hello, good evening, Mussolini. Thank you for the invitation to this wonderful program.
Thanks to you for coming here tonight. I hope you were having a nice day so far. I'm glad. How about we talk about what brought us here, the economic crisis of the 20th century? Do you think people could have avoided the crisis if they were more cautious?
Before we start talking about whether the economic crisis could have been avoided, we should recap what caused this crisis. For example, the stock market crash. Some people talk about it, but for me it's important.
Oh yeah, that was the inflection point. If you feel sure about it, then go ahead and speak it. We are here to listen to you after all.
It started after the First World War. Americans felt that feeling of victory and triumph after winning this war. The same feeling led them to accept loans from anyone and of any type.
I understand the feeling like you just won a war, the war, and you feel like you're on top of the world.
Yes, and the same feeling led to loans being accepted from anyone and any type.
But what about them? What did people did with them? Like, in some way they got in crisis.
And most of these people can't pay back the money, causing many banks to fail and the stock market to crash. As the crisis deepened, consumers and business cut back on their spending, which in turn caused a drop in demand and production.
You got a solid point, Roosevelt. Frankly, I think it's the only reason for the economic crisis. Like, what else could have done it, other than the Americans being foolish about money?
That's where you're wrong, since government policies were also not supportive, since it was never regulated to whom and how much they were paid in loans, which soon led them to bankruptcy and early ruin.
Maybe, but it's not all the fault of the government. Like, no one could have expected that an event of this magnitude could occur. They were too busy with the World War to focus on that. Well, we also have other guests we would like to invite to talk with us, but seeing the time, we'll have to do it after the sponsor of our episode. See you again when we come back live.
Buenas, un megabox, por favor.
Claro, son 5 euros.
¿Cuántos euros son?
¿Eso que pone ahí?
4 más 1,
3 más 2,
4 más 3,
7
más 2,
9,
menos 4.
5.
Pues por el
Megabox de KFC. 4 más 1 productos por 4 más 1 euros. Pollo.
Welcome back, everybody. Ready for more Você de la Virginie? I hope you are, because now we have two new guests. Please enter Hubert F. Dixon and Osama Bin Laden Sosa.
Good evening, Mussolini. Thank you for the invitation to this incredible program.
I can say the same. Thanks for the invitation to this comfy space, Mussolini. I was excited to be here tonight.
The pleasure is mine for having you all here tonight. Hubert, I invited you here to give us your testimony on how it was to live that era, since we know that you lived your whole childhood in those times. How was to be a little kid back then?
Well, it was difficult, you know. At that time, unemployment was on the rise, which led to an increase in poverty. My parents, hard workers, had a really rough time when it came to bringing food home. The prices were just too big to pay. I even used to play with big amounts of cash because it was too much and it was worth it. So yeah, it was really tough. Also, it was just in the United States. There were bank and business failures all over the world. The entire economy was collapsing everywhere.
That sounds very tragic. How did your family get through that? How do you even recover from all that?
Well, we often had to deal with hunger for a day to save food to hit the next month. But with effort, we could eventually make it out of that situation.
You must be so proud of it. I will be if me and my family came out of that situation any close to that. Thanks for sharing with us your story. We really appreciate it. And well, for our last host of tonight, Osama bin Laden Sosa, please tell us about the consequences of those economic crises to give like an envelope to this episode.
Well, some of the main consequences of the crisis were Black Thursday, unemployment, poverty, bank failures, among others.
But what is Black Thursday? It's a very long time since I heard that, and my old mind is having trouble remembering.
This was what marked the beginning of the crisis, with the stock market crash generating panic and preventing banks and companies from recovering their capital.
Oh, I remember now. That crash caused immense panic among investors.
Of course, this triggered bank failures and economic collapse, followed by the Great Depression.
There were also some social crises such as increased crime, increased poverty, and unemployment.
If I recall correctly, people were more united than ever. Families helped each other, and women were finally able to enter the workforce.
Also, if I'm not bad, the economical crisis around the world made people less confident about the capitalist model, which led the people preferring totalitarianism and strong government.
Oh, I remember now. The president that postulated back then, like almost 3/4, were poor totalitarians. Presidents Bush's speech was about a strong hand over the country.
Yeah, people like Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, and Stalin went super fast to the top because the economic situation of the country was just too poor.
Oh yeah, they tried to regain all the loss during World War I, which led them onto appealing to the emotional to gain power.
That's why they gained so much popularity. I think that Mussolini was like a grateful actor, and that's why it got to the Italians' heart so easily.
I never liked neither one of these three. I always felt there were something off their specs. Like a little spine that told me they were bad people.
And one of the worst consequences was the rise of public and private debt. Like, by all this, thus too went up high, and with the inflation was at its peak, as Hoover said before, with kids playing with money.
And did the government ever do something about the crisis? Like we haven't talked what they did do better this mess.
Well, the government made some regulation on how the economic works in the country. But more than that, not much, that's all.
Well, look at our time. The time we give for finish our episode of Voce de la Vergine. We are grateful for listening to us. And stay tuned for the next episode. Bye bye!